On this episode of the Layover Live, Amber stops by to talk content splintering.
All right, let's chop up some content.
Grant, we're not literally chopping up content. You know that, right?
Ooh, so I shouldn't have brought my axe.
Yeah. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 83 of the Layover Live, where we bring you the top article from the Layover each week. I'm Jason Swick, VP of Digital Marketing, joined by Amber Gallegos, our digital content editor.
Hi.
Right, so no content splinters? You're okay? You don't need
I'm
two
okay,
users?
yeah.
Okay, good.
No, we're good.
No, Grant was coming in to do some lumberjacking, which doesn't work for this, right?
No, not quite the same
Yeah,
thing.
not literally splinters we're talking about, but we are talking about an article that comes from Medium this week, which talks about really trying to use content splintering to really get the most out of your content, which is something we should be thinking about anyways. Now, when we're talking about repurposing content, Amber, I know these things can, they kind of walk the same line, but they're a little bit different. So let's even just talk about what is content splintering.
Yeah, so it is really similar, or essentially the same thing as content repurposing. And it's definitely not a new concept. It's a new article that goes pretty in depth.
Yep.
But other people like Gary Vee and a lot of other people have talked about it. But essentially, it's taking a piece of content and then seeing what else you can do with it. So taking that basic concept and breaking it out into social media posts, video content, all of that sort of stuff, where you have this one idea and you're not doing so much work to get the information again because you already have it. You're just using it in different ways.
Yep. Yeah. The article talks really good about how it's like this tree, right? It's like your flagship piece of content. Then you take that tree and you cut it into different pieces of logs, which they become like these subcategories. And then from there you splinter those off into these smaller pieces and smaller pieces. And it was a really good way to look at how you should approach content. But maybe talk about the difference between content splittering and reposting then. Like, what's the difference between those two?
Yeah, for sure. So the analogy they use that you were talking about is really using that content to fuel the fire that is your business.
Yeah.
So the difference between reposting and repurposing is literally you're taking something old and you're just throwing it up on your blog again, changing the date. It's the same content. Repurposing is where you maybe have one core idea, say for our destination marketers, things to do in the summer. And you take that things to do in the summer idea and you break it down into like categories like food, entertainment, attractions, things like that. So all of those little pieces you have, and you could maybe even do one overarching post that's things to do in the summer that links out to all three of those.
Yep.
So they're all parts of the same tree, if you will. And so you're just really building out that content in different ways. And as you're doing it, thinking about different ways you can use it on different platforms, not just in a written form.
Yeah. So now let's talk about then for DMOs out there, how do you approach content splintering then? If we're looking at trying to set this up or mapping this out, so to speak, how would we approach that?
Well, you really want to have a plan. So definitely you should have a content calendar where you're thinking about what are the concepts, big ideas you're talking about all year. And that way you're planning for it. So if you know come July, you're talking about things to do in the summer, as you're writing that content, you're thinking about the different ways you're going to use it. So how will this translate to video? How will it translate to social? How will it translate to email, marketing, email even, and things like that. So you need to definitely have a plan and then think about when it's going to be posted and when are those connecting pieces going to go out as well. All in a timely manner that makes sense, that your audience understands, hey, we have this topic and we're going to talk about it now in all these different ways. That's engaging and really informational for them. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's a good way to do it. I think sitting down, thinking about those larger pieces, and even making a tree out of it, right? Like a hierarchy tree, to showing, here's this piece of content, now I'm going to break it down to these 3 topics. From those 3 topics, I'm going to break into these sub pieces, and then thinking about which platforms go on there, because for some places, as you know, 15-second video may work well. For others, long form content may be better. But being able to like sit there in a tree format and map all of that out really helps to inform that content calendar and really help you.
And sometimes it happens after the fact, just kind of a natural way. Maybe you're looking for more content and you go to a really lengthy piece and say, how can I divide this out? And actually, we do it here in the Layover. The last 2 times ago I was on, we talked about emotional headlines. Well, our DTN actually made that into a blog post. And I know on LinkedIn, Simple View will use little snippets of layover videos to tease the video.
Yep.
So little ways like that where you're taking, a 5-minute video and taking 30-second snippets and using those.
Yeah, that's a great example of content splintering. So thanks for stopping by and sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Really, really cool to check out. It's a really, really great article. Stuff you should really start to think about because it's very time consuming to have to put pieces of content together. But oftentimes those big pieces of content can break off into many, many, many other pieces of content, which really also helps you provide more relevant content to your end users. So thanks again for tuning in each every week. If you're not subscribed already, please do so. We'd love to hear comments as well. Check out our audio on our podcast as well on Spotify and iTunes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time and have a great day.